Welcome to the 2017-18 school year. I hope you're off to a great start. We do have some changes that were made to 6th grade science over the summer. And one of the main changes was how you're going to access your curriculum materials. So I want to walk you through the website. And then we did make some changes to assessments that I'm going to go through with you as well. So there's a couple places where you'll look to access information about 6th grade science. One is here in the 6th grade tab, and one is in the FOSS tab. And we're going to start with the FOSS tab. If you look in here, you'll see that you have your contact information for the Science Center and the email addresses that you would use there. For ordering your living material order forms, you'll do that through this link. You'll find your handout is down here. You'll fill it in electronically and send it back to Brad in the Science Center or Greg in the Science Center. I do want to point out that if you, first of all, please only order what you need. Please don't order, you're only supposed to be ordering one class set of things. If you find that you're not going to use something that you ordered, please let Brad know at least a week in advance so that he can cancel that order and we can kind of conserve our resources. If on this site you try to click on a link to a document and you find that you don't have access to it, it says you don't have permission, what that means is that you're not logged into your district Google account. Please do not send the request for permission, but please instead make sure that you're logged into your Google account, and then you'll be able to access everything that's on the site. The next thing we're going to look at are the kit order forms. This was handled a little bit differently this year. It was based on the number of teachers that were on your campus. And when you click on this one, you'll get an image. So on some of them, there was a teacher order form that was filled out, and so you should have gotten the kits in the order that you asked for. If you had 3 or 4 teachers, or even if you had 2, 3, or 4 teachers, you received both kits at the same time at the beginning of the school year, and then you'll switch those with your counterparts on your campus. If there were 3 or 4 teachers, then you got 2 of each kit on your campus, and you'll switch those around too. If you're in one of the green highlighted schools, it means that I did not get information from your campus about which kit you wanted and what order you wanted them in. You will need to contact me and let me know what you want so we can make sure we get your kits out to you. Under this curriculum materials tab, a few years ago, teachers did some work with pacing guides and key ideas and correlating between the state standards and the different FOSS investigations, and you'll find the results of their work here on this page. The Diversity of Life in Weather and Water handouts are available through the district copy shop at no charge. If you're not sure how to order things through the district copy shop, please contact your secretary on your campus and they should be able to help you out with that. You can order the handouts either for the investigations. They come in either half sheets or full sheets. The last link that I want to show you is this FOSSWeb link. And on here, this is where you can sign up for FOSSWeb, and you can also get the premium access codes for the kits that we have. The nice thing about this is that you can access your teacher's edition online. You can also access the student book online, as well as videos and things like that that go along with your kit. If we back out of the FOSS page and go back out to the main page, and we click on the 6th grade link, we're going to start with our standards on here, and you'll see that you have your standards, and there's a lot of different charts that are on here, but really they're all just different ways of looking at your state standards. The 6th grade placemat that you do need to print out on an 11 by 17 sheet of paper has all your standards for the whole year on one side of one sheet of paper. The progression charts down here show where your content falls kind of in the larger scheme of things. Strands 1, 2, and 3, they weave through K-12, through all of science. And so these charts show where you're at, like where your kids should be coming to you, where they should be going next after you, and it kind of gets you that idea of where you're at within the whole grand progression. It also lets you know, like if you have those really advanced students, like if you're going to push them forward, it gives you an idea of where to push them to because you can see the next year's standards in there. And you'll see it's the same thing for 4, 5, and 6. And one of the things that I really wanted to do with these content area strands is show you that, there's some things that are going to be touched on next year. There's something that students won't see again for quite some time. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what they should understand and where they're going to see this again. The primary change was made to our assessments. The district assessments were rewritten, and the teachers went through the past assessments and they looked at the item analysis and they identified some areas where students were struggling. And that's what this difficult test concepts is they went through each of the assessments and they said, here's the concept that they didn't get, and here's what you can do to help with that, and what to focus on in your instruction to help them with those concepts that they weren't as clear on. On the district assessment blueprint, what you'll see is a breakdown for each of the different assessments of how many questions are for a particular performance objective on that assessment, just so you'll see the breakdown of where the assessments are at. For each of the assessments, there is a study guide that goes along with it that was made by the teachers as they were making the test. These are Google Docs. So if you're planning on sharing, like if you have enough computers in your classroom and you want students to work on the study guide electronically, please make sure that you make a copy of this Google Doc and save it to your drive, and then share that copy with your students. Please do not share this particular one with your students, because if they don't sign in with their district Google account, then the request for access, which they will send, will go to the teacher that made this and not to you. So please make sure that you have given them a copy that's from your drive and not from here. One of the main differences on these assessments, there's 20 questions on each assessment. 19 of them are multiple choice, and there's one constructed response question. And so to go with that constructed response question, on this page is where you will find the rubric of how to score that particular question. So you'll see that the pre and the post both have a different constructed response, and so there is a different rubric for the pre and the post. Only the post is required, but if you give the pre, then you have the rubric for that as well. Excuse me. The last tab on here is for your assessment windows. As you scroll down to 6th grade, you'll see that you have 3 required district assessments that you have to give. The first assessment is called a gap assessment, and this one is testing where students are at coming into your class. They should be taking this during the first month of school, and we're looking at what did they know coming out of 5th grade. This is based on 5th grade standards, not 6th grade standards, so it is not appropriate for use in an SLO goal. It's just for you to gain an understanding of where your kids are with Strand 1 and where you need to fill in some gaps before you move on to 6th grade standards, because they didn't even have the 5th grade standards coming in. For assessments 1 and 2, the windows are very similar to what they were last year. Once again, you can give them in either order based on which kit you are teaching first. The assessment window is 3 weeks long. The first 2 weeks should be your assessment week. The 3rd week is makeup week. And then after that, what you're seeing at the end is a scoring window. So during that time, you can score the constructed response. However, students can't actually take the test, with the exception of May, which is where it has to be done by the end of the school year. We did change the names of the assessments to more closely relate to the standards as opposed to the actual kit itself. So in this particular part, you're going to see the old name of the assessment and then what the new name is that you'll see in School City. The L after our gap analysis test refers to the low-level security of the test. This means that you can see the item analysis, you can see how every kid did on every single thing. The only thing you can't do with this test is print out a copy of it, hand it to the student, and have them take it home. Otherwise, you have a lot of latitude with how you use this particular assessment. For the 2 post-tests that are required, you'll see that they are high-level assessments, so that's what the H stands for. And on those, you'll be able to see just the standards analysis and then also the student score. The optional pre-tests that are available for both of these 2 are low-level assessments. The questions are different from the pre to the post. So you'll be able to see the item analysis on the pre-assessments. Many of the things that I've said are contained in the back to school updates for 6th grade. One of the things that's different that I do want to point out is that there are some sample safety contracts that are available on the back to school handout. You're not required to use any particular safety handout, but you do have to have some sort of contract between you and your students about how they will act during an investigation. The conversation needs to happen before an investigation occurs, and then there needs to be some sort of written documentation that that particular conversation took place. It could be one of these contracts, it could be a safety pledge that everybody signs and you put up on the wall, but it needs to be in writing. There's a couple of reasons for this. One reason is that students tend to take you a little bit more seriously on this when they actually have to put their name on it. So they're like, oh yeah, my teacher really means business with this. The other reason is for liability purposes. If that unfortunate circumstance happens and something occurs, we want to make sure that we have written documentation that we did have a conversation with the student. And I know that it won't be the only conversation you have with your students, but we do want to make sure that we have at least that one time we have that documentation. The last tab that I want to go through with you is the SLO goals. We've had some requests for some options for SLO goals, particularly for teachers that are singletons on their campus because they're struggling to find things that they have in a common assessment. They want to do something in science, but they don't have anyone to have a common assessment with. These are optional, and I want you to see it says optional lots of times through here. These are not required, but these are examples that could be used, and then you would have something in common with others. These are based off of the data nuggets that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. There's some sample pacing in here. You have sample goals, along with the breakdown for how students will increase in their proficiency. You have the standards that they go with. If your team is working on a writing focus, we also have provided for you how this particular goal supports the ELA writing focus as well. And then you have both print copies and then Canvas lessons that go with each of these different goals, as well as answer keys. So there's one for using for CER, and then there's one for variables and graphing that are in here. Once again, these are options for you. They're not required, but if you are looking for something different for an SLO goal, or if you are looking for something that you can do in common, would be a common district assessment, or a common assessment. It doesn't have to be a common district assessment, but a common assessment, then these things are available for you here. If you have questions about the curriculum or the SLO goals or any of those kinds of things, my contact information is on the front page of our K6 science page. Please feel free to contact me. Email is always best because I'm not always at my desk. But please do contact me, and I hope you have a great start to your school year.